they are the ones who have held this country on its knees, and the healthcare is collapsing. I have so many DMs of people, administrators who have held this country on its knees, and the healthcare is collapsing. I have so many DMs of people, administrators, people, in private hospitals, like, let's say, for example, Nairobi Women's Hospital is collapsing. And one of the reasons why is that NHIF does not pay them. And there's so many other hospitals that NHIF owes them billions of shillings. It's very interesting that some hospitals, NHIF owes them billions, while...
Yes, okay. Okay, Nelson. Can you hear me, Nelson?
I can hear you.
Yeah. We have issues in Kenya since morning. There's been no electricity, a lot of issues. So you'll bear with us today. But Nelson, hold there. I want to welcome Dr. Chibanzi. And after that, we'll have Wanjiru to tell us the story of her father struggling with kidney failure and unable to get treatment because of NHIF closure. So Nelson, stay around. Chibanzi, how are you, sir?
I am well, and you? I hope you can hear me.
Hello, Chibanzi.
Hello. Am I audible enough?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, Daktari. Habari gani?
Salama sana, habari gani?
Hello, Chibanzi.
Yes.
Okay, Wanjiru, go on. What is the problem? And
yes.
Where are you calling us from?
Hi, Eric. Hi, Amerix. My name is Wanjiru. I am dialing in from Cape Town, South Africa, but I'm Zalendo. My heart is always in Kenya. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much, Americ Cyprian, for these spaces that you host. I truly appreciate them because they are a great platform for us to vent, discuss solutions, and build networks with people who are like-minded in our project of Okoa Kenya, and it's just fantastic what people are doing. Good afternoon, good morning. It is evening on my side. It's night time. So I'm just going to give a very short story about my father.
Can you get closer to your mic, because you sound to be in some echo or some hollow place.
Can you hear me? I can remove my multimedia. I can disconnect my multimedia.
Yes.
Is that clearer?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Clearer. Yes.
So my dad was diagnosed with end-stage kidney disease about 8 years ago, and he's only got about 6% kidney function, and he's been undergoing dialysis for the last for about twice a week, but sometimes it has to be about 3 times a week. So even if NHIF was flawed, it covered 100% of the dialysis costs at approximately about 9,500 per session. And that included also tests to monitor his overall health, the effectiveness of the dialysis, to manage complications, etc. All he had to pay was actually medication for his hypertension, which was the real cause of the underlying cause of the kidney failure. So patients with end-stage kidney disease, and I can see there are doctors here. I'm just going to speak as a daughter who cares about her father's health. And please correct me if I get any facts wrong. Kidney failure patients face a lot of complications, and depending on their overall health. So, for example, my father suffers from low cardiac output because he had heart complications which caused various heart attacks. So you can imagine, just hearing the story, how crazy his medical bills could be. So during dialysis, also his blood fluctuates quite badly, going up and down. So he must be monitored very, very closely at every dialysis session. So we've decided to keep him at MP Shah Hospital because it is extremely competent. He's got quick access to emergency doctors in case of complications. So we cannot move a 75-year-old fragile man to a cheaper facility. So it is scary. So under NHIF, whenever they went for dialysis, and as long as they were in the system, they would be dialyzed and then they would be discharged very quickly. But on the day Shif was actually implemented, my dad and many other friends of his, I mean, we've prolonged his life for more than 8 years. You can calculate that. They went in at 3 o'clock in the morning and they were dialyzed as usual. But upon release, the system went and checked and found that it had been switched off. So there was absolutely no communication. They were not aware. They were all held. They were told you cannot leave the hospital without paying your bill. So with my dad's situation, he had to pay 11,500. This is a man who's 75 years old without a source of income. But they've been told going forward, anyone else coming to this facility to seek treatment, they must pay upfront. Now, let's just do a quick calculation. If he's going to be having 3 sessions of dialysis a week, at the worst, we're going to be paying a bill of 138,000 shillings a month. How many Kenyans can afford that? So some of us can scramble this money together, and it's going to prove to be very difficult. But majority of the Kenyans cannot. And despite my big black tax, responsibilities at home beyond and beyond, this is just an amount I just could not have budgeted for. Now, if a kidney failure patient misses dialysis, even once or twice, harmful substances actually go into the brain and it causes a condition called uremia. So it becomes so overwhelmed with toxins, and I've seen it happen before with him. You lose consciousness, go into a coma, you can get a cardiac arrest, and you'll die. Now, here is the issue. Depending on the state of your kidneys and your average state of health, you will die within a couple of days or a week or so. So let us do a few calculations. According to the Kenya Renal Association, we've got about 12,000 people in Kenya who've got end-stage kidney disease. And the statistics are not as accurate, but assuming that we've got 8,000 patients undergoing dialysis, scores of people will die. And it is preventable. Over the next few days, we are facing a catastrophe. And my dad has crashed a couple of times. Several times I've watched him. And the way when we revive him and he explains what it is to die like that, it's like drowning. It's a horrible way to go. So even if you're able to sell a few cows and goats and land, that money will eventually run out and the patient will still die. Now, in some WhatsApp groups that have got renal patients, we've seen people even declaring that they're going to commit suicide because they can't go and sell all this and then still die because they're going to leave their families destitute. Now, I hope Moses Kuria or his goons and people are listening to me today. That gangster is shamelessly prostituting himself across numerous media channels, trying to defend this colossal disaster. Listen to this. He is obsessed about capturing data of Kenyans, and he is blinded to the human cost of this careless rollout. He has even the audacity to claim that Shif is not about health, that the health is a byproduct of this data collection thing. I mean, he says we should not be blinded by the hiccups. We should be driven by the opportunity. This is not a hiccup. Hiccups are minor inconveniences. This is a catastrophe that we are facing. Korea even has the goal to say that NHIF is still in place till November. That is a lie. Because the service providers have all told us, we've called a few and they've stated that they simply switched it off. There is no coexistence between NHIF and SHIF. That is nonsense. It is a white lie and it is a disastrous PR stint. And we've called NHIF several times, and even the employees there don't know what's happening. And then his flippant story of nobody should be turned around. I mean, I think Amerix will run a clinic. Is there any hospital that can run and provide services in the hope of a miracle that they're going to be paid? These things cost money. So obviously, they're not giving these services because they cannot be guaranteed of payment either by the patient or by the insurance provider. And then he talks about the portability of contributions. I mean, he has talked so much nonsense, but the worst bit for me is when he says that he is over the moon about how the shift is rolling out. What kind of standards are we accepting as Kenyans? Is it excellent when people are denied access to healthcare and they're left to die? This man is out there bragging, saying that he's setting up a system that has never been tested anywhere in the world. He is selling an untested, dangerous experiment without a pilot. And if anybody knows what a pilot is, it's putting together a system that is in a controlled environment to test its feasibility, identify the challenges, test solutions, and to reduce risk, amongst others. They just went off with this big thing and they never even tested it. This Kenya government is reckless in implementing this Shif. In fact, if you remove the F, you will end up with T. Francis has got better words to pronounce that word, SHIT. It is a deliberate dereliction of duty and a cold-hearted disregard for human life. This is a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions that is going to precipitate in this country. And those charlatans that allowed this thing to go the way it was, they are guilty of nothing less than sponsored genocide by the state against the people of Kenya. It is criminal negligence and they should be prosecuted. This is a criminal enterprise. People, please, Kenyans, I have put my foot forward because civic education, just donate, just like Francis was saying, just donate 2 hours of your time to the project Okoa Kenya. It's not that bad. I've put my foot forward. I am building an organization with a few Mzalendo Kenyans of mine in Kenya, and we are really working towards delivering a new country. As you say, Francis, we can volunteer our time, and everybody in Kenya, you cannot be defeated. 56 million people cannot be defeated by one person. If you've got any skill that you would like to donate to our organization, we're calling ourselves Taifa Mpya. We have a vision of being part of this movement that is delivering a new country, rebirthing a new country that we reimagine. Kenya reimagined. What is that country that we want to see? We have to be deliberate in helping midwife it. And all of you people...
Hold there. Hold on there. Hold on there, Wanjiru. Don't go. Don't go. Just hold on there. You'll tell us more about this Taifa Mpya of Okoa Kenya. You said something of Okoa Kenya? Taifa Mpya. Okay, hold on. You'll tell us more about it shortly. Let me bring Chibanzi.
Yes, sir.
Daktari, how are you?
Fine.
How is Mombasa?
Niko Nairobi. I hope you can hear me.
Are you there, sir? We can't hear you.
We can hear you. I can hear him on my side.
Okay.
Oh, he's talking.
Yeah. So I think I've listened in on what Wanjiru has said and listened in on what Nelson has spoken. And in reality, we are faced with a very difficult and not even difficult. What we have is people who don't really care for human life. What's the situation on the current social health authority and the insurance fund and all that? So what happened is exactly what has been described by Wanjiru, that systems were switched off on Tuesday, on 1st of October. The NHIF systems were switched off. So the question that then comes is, if you're rolling out, you need to prepare for the system in terms of making sure that you have providers on board, the healthcare facilities on board, you have the system on board, you must have done a pilot. Up until now, there is no contract between the social health authority and the healthcare providers. The healthcare providers here being the facilities themselves that will offer services. So it's more of politics being played around, that you go to the hospital, you will get treatment and all that. But in reality, there's nothing in place to transition this from NHIF to SHIF or SHA. There's nothing literally. So, and then the other thing is, what is not being said, and this is information that is not out there in the public, that the rates that have been prescribed here, the private sector is not on board. The private sector is not on board because they are not in the business of, they're in business. They're not in the business of offering healthcare like in public facilities. Public facilities are not making profit. Private facilities are people who've set up their facilities, improved their services more than what is in the public, and they've invested. So there are profit margins that they normally look at. So the contracts that are going to be signed, and that is not being said and not being told to Kenyans, is that you will have to co-pay. By co-pay, what does that mean? It means even after you've been deducted the 2.75% if you're salaried, for those who are salaried, regardless of the amount, if you're earning 100,000, 50,000, it's a significant amount, because every month at the end of the year we're looking at 60, 70, up to 100,000, 300,000. you will still have, when you go to a facility, and this is the other lie, that when you go to a facility that is public, you have the choice, public or private. So if you go to a public, there's no extra costs. That's what is being said. But in the private sector, you'll basically have to pay up. So after the deductions, you still have to pay for service. And the paying for service is only two options. Either you procure private insurance cover for you and your family. And in reality, this is also not very cheap. I mean, how many Kenyans can today afford private insurance? It's very minimal Kenyans. And the other thing is, if you can't afford the private health insurance, you must look for money to pay for the service. So there's an argument from the government side that it's happening anyway. But you see, the amounts that people have been deducted from their salaries have allowed them to be able to pay for people somehow. They're keen, I mean, their relatives, and that's where people talk about black tax and all that. So essentially, it's a lie that you can choose any facility. The other angle that I think, if you watched what was happening in Parliament last week when the Ministry of Health went to present their case, and when they were even asked about the 104 billion Kenya shillings for the privately sourced tender to build that technology system, one thing that came out is that an upgrade of the NHIF system would have cost maybe 700 million. Of course, 700 million looks quite a lot. It's actually a lot. And then the other thing is that even with that, the amount of monies that have been allocated to offer and pay for service, which is what they're saying, there are 3 funds, you will get paid for chronic diseases like what Wanjiru was talking about in terms of diabetes, dialysis and all that. They have underfunded, they have not allocated. The Ministry of Health in May, June went to Parliament and requested for monies that were slashed up and slashed by 95% almost, to very minimal amounts that will not cover everyone in this country in terms of that. So they are banking on the Social Health Insurance Fund, in which we'll be contributing to offer service to people. Now, when it comes to the informal sector, which is the biggest proportion of Kenyans, the system that they're talking about, this means testing. It's not even working. They have no way of telling who will work. In fact, at some point, you heard in Parliament them saying that it will be like Hustler Fund. And we all know the story of Hustler Fund. I don't need to go into the details of that. So essentially what you're seeing is that because salaried people are out there, it's easier to tax their monies from the employer. We just go ahead with that. The figures that are being proposed are not realistic. I mean, you've taxed people for housing levy to pay for houses that we will not even benefit from. Then secondly, now you're bringing in this health tax that is only being paid by a proportion of people. So I watched this video of this old man who was crying. I think most of you have seen it. Who was talking about how he has no money, he has kidney failure, he's feeling sick, and it's completely heartbreaking. These people have no empathy. And you look at what is being propagated, and I listened to what Nelson was saying, and it's not any further from the truth, in the sense that there's state capture to some extent. There's state capture actually, because how would you allocate more money for procuring a system and less money to offer services to people? It does not make sense unless people are going to benefit from this money that you're allocating at very high proportions. And that is where, unfortunately, if we do not talk, especially us in the health sector who've worked in this sector for years, we are going to see Kenyans suffer. This narrative that you will no longer have to pay harambes for your people, you will get free service, it's a lie. Because at the end of the day, you will still have to pay for yourself, and pay for your families, and pay for your relatives, and pay for everyone who in your circle, because we are all supporting someone somewhere. That's the reality. So you're reducing the amount of money we are earning, all of us, whether we're in the formal or informal sector, and then you're squeezing us further by saying we have to co-pay. So where is this money going to come from? So you have you have a government that is making decisions that are utopic. They're out of touch with reality. There's one point that I also want you to, and I'll finish on this one, is this, that if you look at all this, it's very silent on how the political class will seek healthcare. If indeed there was sincerity and that we are all equal, or we are taking from, they're saying Robin Hood tax policies, look at the covers that the political class has. It's 10 million plus, 5 million plus for, and they have everything. But who is paying for these covers? It is us. It is the money that we are taxed that is going to pay for this. So it's a class divide here, where because you're a political class, you will get the best of healthcare at the expense of Kenyans who are contributing their taxes. Then you go ahead and tax them more, give them a very minimum basic package that does not, for instance, 900 shillings per person, per household. If you have children, you know how many times children fall sick in 3 months, in even a year. So if you go to the facility, you're told, and that is what's going to happen, that you will be billed, this is the amount. There was a doctor's consultation, there was tests that were done, and then now we have to give you medicine, so the bill comes to 3,000 or 2,000. And so you're told the government has paid for you 900 shillings as part of the universal health coverage that they're calling, so you have to pay for the rest. So if you don't have an insurance, please pay cash. That's going to be the scenario. So you can imagine how many people are going to go through. And then the last point that I've just remembered that is very critical is that the same Ministry of Health conducted an assessment of all healthcare facilities in terms of service delivery. And in reality, our facilities are not ready to offer this service. 7% of 14,000 facilities being ready to offer outpatient services, for instance. That's a very, very, very low figure. So you're telling us that you will send us there, then you go there are no drugs, there is no equipment to cater for you, and then if the service is poor and the queues are long, you have to find an alternative. The alternative, you still have to pay more. In all honesty, this system is a scam, and the worst thing that has ever happened is that they never listened to stakeholder recommendations. And I'm talking because I'm in this sector and I understand, and I've been following this. No stakeholder recommendations were listened to. They stuck to where they were, and up until now, the position is where they are. They're going to go ahead with it, whether we like it or we don't like it. So it's upon us to decide as the people how we're going to tackle this and how we're going to push back, because if we don't push back, they will keep pushing. So it's a pushback. And I've been in this, for it's almost 10 years now. We've been in the union before. We have been jailed at some point. During COVID, we saw how people were dying, doctors were dying, and then now came the COVID scandal. So it's a systematic thing, and we have to find a way of pushing back on this. Thank you, Amerix.
All right. Most of you don't know Daktari here. Daktari was among the union leaders who were jailed. Was that committee?
I was in Athi River, but we went to committee at some point.
Yeah, so there's something you said when we were chatting. You told me that 20% of Kenyans are going to carry the burden of 80% of Kenya. Maybe you can summarize that?
Yeah, so this is how I'm going to explain it. If you look at the formal sector, which means those people who are earning salaries, every month they're paid a salary and they're employed, the percentage is that minimal percent. Our statistics are almost 20%. And then the bigger proportion of Kenyans are in the informal sector. Either you work in the Jkia sector or you have a business that you are running, and so you're self-employed. And that is where the problem is. And by that I meant that for us, those of us who are working in the formal sector who have salaries, it is very easy for them to say this is which is what the law says that they have formed. This is a statutory deduction. So it will be deducted from your salary whether you like it or not. And I've been seeing over the weekend a few letters going around from employers in the public sector that go to, because for one thing they did is migrated all formal sector employees from NHIF to SHN. Then they sent messages. I think there were messages going around last week telling people to to go and fill in their profiles. And that is also not working, by the way, on the back end, because the systems are not ready for this. So that means it gives them an assurance of this money that you're going to start with for the Social Health Authority and Social Health Insurance Fund, if you listen to them. Now, the informal sector is where now they are saying we're going to do means testing. They'll come to your house, look at your TV, look at what you own, and then fill in some few questions, and then now from there, they'll determine how much you'll be paid. Now, if you're saying, and they're saying it's going to work like the Hustler Fund, look at the Hustler Fund and how they are also struggling with the 7 billion that they're unable to get from Kenyans. And if you look at the university funding model that also talked about the same thing, means testing and the banding and all that, it's not worked. It has to be reviewed. So now you're causing chaos in a sector that is literally life and death. I listened to Wanjiru, and when someone is sick, they're chronically ill, they don't have time. It's either they get treatment, or if they don't get treatment, they will die. So how do you roll out a system you have not prepared and you're insisting that it must go on, despite being told you need to do 1, 2, 3. They have not signed contracts. So that is what I meant, that if you look at it critically, they have no way of getting money from the people in the informal sector. They're just talking of means, which is very theoretical, but practically, how will a mama mboga, chini mwenye anauza mboga pale, how will that mama mboga go into a phone? In fact, wengine hata wako na kabambe. You're saying you're sending community health promoters, they fill in. And then the thing is this, that if you're unable to pay the premium, because the premium per law that is in the Social Health Authority Act is that you should pay, if you're not in the formal sector, you should pay the full amount in a year. That 300 shilling they talk about, you're not going to pay it every month. It has to be paid times 12 months, which is what? 12 times 300 is 3,600. So they're saying, because you're unable to pay, your income is erratic, we are going to give you a loan. And then once you've gotten the loan to pay for the insurance, you will have to now pay back the loan according to how much you're getting, even if it's erratic. Why are we going into financing in terms of a loan? Does it even make sense? It doesn't, in all honesty. And that is why I'm saying this minimal percent will actually take care of the bigger population. That's not our responsibility. They're collecting taxes from us. So once they've collected taxes from us, it's a responsibility of the government to now offer the service. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Daktari, for that. Na kwa wale wenye wamestruggle kusikia, daktari anasema hivi. Anasema unapata hospitali umepewa 10,000. Na hiyo kitu yao inaitwa Shif. Unafika kwa hospitali, bili inakuja ni 30,000. So inamaanisha mgonjwa wako hawezi toka hospitali until you pay the 30,000. So this SHA sheet has given you 10,000. So you have to look for the 20,000. Otherwise, hawezi toka kwa hiyo hospitali. That is the mess that this sheet is creating in this country. Na ukiona hapo topic ya leo nimeita our sweat, our blood, our urine and our tears. Our blood. Tuna struggle kama wa Kenya, tuna sweat. Watu wako renal departments wanafanywa dialysis because of their urine. People are crying because their people are dying because of this shit. Darwin Ambuka.
Yes, my brother Amenya.
Go on.
Thank you very much. Shif, it is the biggest scam. It will be bigger than Goldenberg. I think Kamlesh Patni will be reading, and it will reduce Kamlesh Patni with his scandals to look like a joker. Because what is happening, it is a direct politicization of health. There are things you can't touch. There are things you can't run politics deep into them. Ukienda huko ulete siasa mingi, you kill the structure, and these are the core of the nation. When you bring politics into health, when you bring politics into agriculture, and when you bring politics into education, basically you are killing the entire infrastructure of the country. So right now, we've people wanalazimisha Shif ingie into play. Now, Shif is a boat that is porous before it starts. Actually, it's a stillbirth. It's a dead on arrival. When you are launching something and it's not peaking, the public participation is dull. The people feeling it carries the canopy of oppression, then definitely that's a wrong ship to board. I'll start here, like how my brother Dr. Mwachonda, and thank you Mwachonda for expounding some of these things. You cannot subject 3 million civil servants to pay for the health of 50 million Kenyans. There can be better models which can accommodate an entire, but you're deducting 2.75% of gross ni before hata taxi guzwe, then you're deducting such an amount of a civil servant, which means if you're earning $1 million bob, unaenda kutoa 2.75% of that. So basically they are forcing you to double tax so that they can have a bigger pool of where money can be stolen. And this is where the ridiculousness is. What are the benefits of the monies that we are being deducted every month? What are the benefits of the monies that they are telling you as a boda boda or a mamamboga that we will come to pime TV yako ni how many inch? So when you come to my house and my son has bought me a 55-inch TV, does that mean that that is my house worth? Oh, okay. So maybe you took a loan in your local chama or a merry-go-round and you owe a few cups which are of glass. Does that give the government audacity to tell that you are as worth as the cup which are in your cupboard? That is total nonsense and a total sham. That is why Shif is coming to. It's a fraud from the start, and I'll tell you practically what is happening in the hospitals. Last week, I work in the MTRH, and I've seen common letters from MTRH, from KUTRH, from KNH, letters which are similar, only the font and the nini, pale juu imebadilika, the emblem, but similar, trying to prove that people are being treated and Shiv is working and people are coming. I saw a letter which was very laughable from KU. We've done 10 dialysis. Come on, why are you bragging for doing 10 dialysis to Kenyans? What nonsense is that? Dialysis is people's right. This is how these people are getting their health and orienting themselves as per health demands of them. You can't write to people letters bragging how you've done dialysis. So is that how cheap you've become because you're just trying to force some insurance to people? On Wednesday last week, I was supposed to make a theatre list in Spain to be operated on Thursday. NHIF owes MTRH over 2.3 billion shillings. Now, there is a rollover. Watu wanafaa ingie Shif. Aya, kuna mtu mwenye amepata pre-authorization ya NHIF who we were supposed to operate on Thursday. Then when they are coming, we are struggling to have them on the theatre list and we are told, we even have struggles with NHIF. They have not even cleared us. So they'd rather come when Shif has stabilized. The fact is Shif will never stabilize. It will not stabilize soon. And I pray that it collapses so that we get a better orientation. Why should Shif fall? It should fall because the services which have been given by Shif are totally bizarre. They are a joke. Unaweza ambiaje mtu eti your dental cover for a year is 935 bob. Kwani yoni ya kununua toothpaste na brush ndio usugue meno? You know, it's just joke kabisa. How can you tell someone that your optical cover is 2,000 shillings? 2,000 shillings ya kufanya nini? Ya kununua kioo tujiangalilie. So everything in this shift is just created from mediocrity. And I'm sorry, I know there are people who are surrounding the president and the Ministry of Health. When I heard the CS answering and explaining herself about Shif, it was just a joke. You listen to her. She's very clueless. People have to stand up and try to salvage her. Like totally rudderless. She does not know what she's defending. She says, oh, Safaricom, imekuja, Safaricom is part of the government parastatal. Like, total shame. And some of these people in government should do their researches very well before they come to media and they tell us about stuff. Because we are the basic service provider. When a patient who's receiving dialysis misses dialysis, I'll not see that patient in the next 3 sessions. They'll be dead. You see, when a person who has come, last week I saw people who came for chemo in Chandaria being told to come back again. How much chance do you have for a patient who's receiving chemo mwenye tunatuma nyumbani angoje Shif is stabilized? So there is another report we may never see, which will be happening in the depths of our village. People are going to die. Why? They are going to die because they can't get access to cover. And there's something that the government is really bragging about. It's bragging about the people who have gotten into Shif. There is too much panic in around, which is cutting across. Many people relied on NHIF to receive their dialysis, to receive their chemotherapy, their antihypertensive. Many people have diabetes, and all these things were being run by an insurance company. So one morning, when government is saying we have closed door for NHIF, what happens next? Of course, people will go in a panic. Everybody will be running around to try and register so that they can still pick their drugs. Sadly, the government is looking at that, seeing like, oh, our people are very motivated to join this Shif. No, people are not motivated. Shif is not right for anybody. We have seen, we are the first primary people on the ground, and I can tell our Kenyan citizens that Shif does not work. One of the better things to show you that something is good is the simplicity of it. You don't need 1,000 paragraphs to explain how something is good. You just need to say, this thing is about your healthcare. Now, look at this. We're having 104 billion shillings, which is being set on just database. Are we even understanding what that is? Like, we have 3 arms. We have a primary healthcare fund, emergency and chronic illness fund, and then the social health insurance fund. The primary healthcare fund and emergency and chronic illness funds are funded by the exchequer. Now, the 2.75% and the monies they are saying they are coming to interview our caps and radios and TVs are going to fund the social health insurance fund. Now, from this money, you're telling us that they are not even, you're not going to assign monies to this healthcare provision. You're going to assign most of those monies to create database. Hii database inaenda kusaidia nani? What is the use of you creating database for us, yet I'm still struggling and suffering? Why would you take 104 billion shillings to create database, yet you're running a healthcare funding system? So what is the essence of the name of healthcare funding system? Then just call it database funding system, and then part of the helps that we'll get in healthcare is part of the monies will go to healthcare. So we find this shift thing very, very unnecessary right now. I know they have put a lot of politics which are superseding it, but I want to really encourage us to be very vigilant. Let us not allow this Shif. If we allow Shif to slide into this carpet and below our feet, we will go back to the days where we will be doing harambes. How can we have a document that says for you to be treated for prostate tumors or prostate-associated diseases, you must be 55 years and above? How do we have a document that separates cancer patients and removes youths who are susceptible also to receive to get tumors from the scope of management of tumors? So basically, my brother Eric, this document is very, very bad. And lastly, allow me just to speak, because we are in healthcare. We have our intern doctors who are away from work. there was a court process that was supposed to be finished last month. It was postponed to this month on 17th. Now, all intern doctors in this country are away from work on a strike. Who are the primary care, let alone intern doctors alone, intern doctors, clinical officers, nurses, all the interns of healthcare provision? Aren't these people the same persons who provide healthcare deliverables in the hospitals? Sasa sisi hapa tuko tuna madaktari, nurses, clinical officers who are doing internship. They are not even being paid, and the doctors, interns are away from work. And we have audacity to say we are rolling out a Shif program, yet you can't even pay the interns. If you go to any local hospital in the county, 80% probability of the person who will do a cesarean section on you is an intern doctor. 90% probability of a person you will see treating you in casualty is an intern doctor. Intern doctors run 95% of health workmanship in this country. Right now, they are away from work. Serikali haitaki kuaddress your mambo. It's forcing Shif on people. Why are you jumping? So what is the interest? We know we have a businessman president where pali pesa iko hapo ndio anaweka. Wakati airport inaweza mpatia a few coins, analeta Adani hapo. Sai Murkomen anataka kuuza viwanja za mpira kwa maana itampatia kitu. Health, it's just because he'll make some profit. But you see, juzi tulikuwa tunauziwa kokoto na mafia mbuzi ndani just because it can give him something. But at whose expense? At what cost of the livelihoods of the people in this country? I think we just need to refresh ourselves, appear in the streets, refuse this shift and everything that is being brewed from a corrupt system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Darwin, for that. And you've raised a very, very, very valid points. Kama kuna mtu hajasikia, kama kuna mtu haelewi, this one has come from the horse's mouth. The people who work at the hospital, the people who interact with those patients. So imekuja from the horse's mouth. So don't doubt, don't listen to politicians. And before I go, I want to bring Francis Ndionim release. But I want to tell you something. This country began going to the dogs in 2013. Unipatie tu dakika moja niwa explainie. I hope you listen to me. So in 2010 tulipitisha katiba mpya. 2010. Na katiba yetu ilitangazwa kuwa one of the best constitutions in the world. Because iko na chapter, I think it's chapter 12, yenye inaongea juu ya public finance management. So inamaanisha kama wewe ni public servant na umechukua pesa, you have to account for that money. So tuliandika a chapter ya constitution vile pesa taxes za Wakenya zinakuwa used. So in 2012 wabunge wakapitisha something called the Public Finance Management Act. Hiyo Public Finance Management Act kuna kitu iliandika hapo ikasema pesa yote ya Wakenya inaingia kwa kitu inaitwa Consolidated Fund. Na ika explain vile hiyo pesa inatolewa hapo, vile controller of budget ana authorize hiyo pesa vile itatumika, and then ikishatumika auditor general anarudi kuangalia vile hiyo pesa imetumika from the Consolidated Fund. Sasa these two twins Mandugu Digital wakaingia kwa power 2013. So wakati waliingia kwa power wakapata system zinafanya kazi. So wakajiuliza tutamake aje pesa. Kitu ya kwanza walifanya, they sent Kimani Ichung'wah to parliament. Kimani Ichung'wah was the chairman of the budget committee 2013. So 2014 waka amend that Public Finance Management Act. Inaitwa Public Finance Management Act 2014. Imekuwa amended because several after that, but I'm on the 2014 one. Sasa hawa jamaa wakaongeza another clause chini ya Consolidated Fund ya kwamba the government can come up with a secret consolidated fund. So Uhuru na Ruto ile pesa walikuwa na collect uko nje, madeni, manini, ma Eurobond ilikuwa inaingia kwa hiyo private Consolidated Fund. Na mimi, as a Kenyan, sijui who is the signatory behind that fund, ama that Consolidated Fund. So now this is what they used to do. Nataka munisikie vizuri. So juu pesa imeingia kwa hiyo Consolidated Fund ya kisiri na hawataki kushikwa, they added another clause ya kusema pesa inaweza toka hapo na ilipe supplier wa direct. You get it? Imeshika mpaka hapo. So this private Consolidated Fund wanaweza ingia hapo bila ruhusa, watoe pesa, walipe direct to the supplier without involving the parliament. So now this is what these guys used to do. Wakitaka kutoa pesa hapo ndani, wanaenda wana identify project. Wanasema hii barabara ni 7 billion. So what they do, they look for a contractor. Wanaambia contractor, leta your BQs and everything. So contractor analeta. So contractor akishapeana hizo vitu, wanafuata tu sheria vizuri vile inatakikana, and then wanaenda wanatoa pesa. Wakitoa pesa, wanaweka kwa account ya contractor. So contractor anaenda site, media inaitwa, Wakenya wanaitwa, red carpet inawekwa hapo, plaque inawekwa hapo, this road is being commissioned by the president, blah 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 blah. And then after that, 2 days later, they call the contractor. They tell the contractor, boss, wewe baki na 10%, turudishe hiyo pesa ingine. So contractor yeye anakaa kwa site 1 or 2 months, anachukula 10% yake, the 90% inaingia kwa mifuko za hawa jamaa. That's why unaona projects mingi zimekwama. That's why unaona watu kama Morara walikuwa wanaenda kwa different projects wakisema hii ilikwama lakini pesa ilikuwa allocated. Hii ilikwama lakini pesa ilikuwa allocated. Let me tell you something, Kenyans. Hakuna vile project inaweza kuwa commissioned na haijakuwa allocated pesa. There is nothing like pesa ya hiyo project iliisha. Pesa huwa inatolewa, inaallocatiwa, and then people pocket the money. That's how money has been withdrawn from this private Consolidated Fund. Na kama wabunge wetu wangekuwa watu wazuri, they would have raised a red flag on that private Consolidated Fund. Yenye pesa ya deni inaingia ndani, and then people withdraw that money in the pretext of funding or paying suppliers when you wametengeneza barabara, wametengeneza dam. And that's why you'll see someone like Ruto ako kwa hii project leo, after 2 years ako kwa the same project, after 3 years ako kwa the same project, because these are called cash cows. Francis, mambo ya Shif, and then I release you Wende.
Me, you know, I wanted to speak about Shif, but me nikisikia the name Uhuru Kenyatta, I just start shaking. I'm shivering. I'm on the edge because I'm thinking we've cut this guy so much slack. This motherfucker must be in jail. Uhuru Kenyatta, he's fucked in the head, mother. Mama Ngina, the land grabber and poacher, they must be in jail. His brother Moho Kenyatta, J. Moturi, Jomo Geshaga, those guys should be in jail for crimes against humanity. If we are not going to burn their houses, the only other compromise is they should be in jail. Because these are guys who have looted, they have destroyed our futures, our collective destinies. I saw a lady talking about prophetic destiny of the country, the people who borrowed debt. You're hearing they have sub-consolidated funds domiciled in different countries. And we are here. I see some influencers there with no shame saying that Uhuru was better than Ruto. These guys are fucked in the head, all of them. And why would you be comparing Uhuru to Ruto? Uhuru right now, because of the amount of debt he has left this country, because of the amount of sabotage, deliberate sabotage. The other day I was talking about Alcoblo. It sounds small, but it's a significant thing. You're looking at, they erected Alcoblo on all the entry points in Nairobi because they were trying to manipulate. They wanted CBD to fall.